The world awoke to stunning news. The headlines blared across every major news outlet, and social media was abuzz with disbelief and speculation. People everywhere were glued to their screens, trying to make sense of the unexpected announcement. Pope Francis, the people's pontiff, had resigned. Known for his humility, compassion, and progressive views, his decision left many in shock. He had been a beacon of hope for millions, advocating for the marginalized and calling for a more inclusive church. His papacy, a beacon of humility and hope, had come to an unexpected end. His tenure was marked by efforts to reform the church, address scandals, and bridge gaps between different faiths. His resignation was not just the end of a papacy, but the end of an era. The chair of St. Peter once again stood empty. The symbolism of the empty chair resonated deeply, reminding the faithful of the gravity of the moment. It was a visual representation of the void left by his departure. This decision, a rarity in the annals of church history, sent shockwaves through the Catholic world. The last papal resignation had been centuries ago, making this event even more unprecedented. Conversations and prayers filled the air as people sought understanding and solace. Francis, in his farewell address, spoke of his dwindling strength. He candidly shared his struggles, both physical and spiritual, and his realization that he could no longer fulfill the demands of his office. His words were heartfelt and sincere, touching the hearts of many. He acknowledged the immense burden of leading 1.3 billion souls. The weight of responsibility had taken its toll, and he felt it was time to pass the mantle to someone with the vigor and vitality needed to guide the church forward. His voice, usually strong and steady, quivered with emotion. The gravity of his decision was evident in his demeanor. Tears welled up in his eyes as he spoke, reflecting the deep emotional struggle he had faced in making this choice. The weight of his decision hung heavy in the air. The faithful gathered outside the Vatican, their faces a mix of sorrow and respect. As the sun set over St. Peter's Basilica, it marked not just the end of a day, but the end of a significant chapter in the history of the Church. Rumors had been swirling for weeks. The health of the 87-year-old pontiff had been a source of concern. His once vigorous pace had slowed. His public appearances, often marked by warmth and spontaneity, had become less frequent. But there were other whispers too. Whispers of discontent within the Vatican, of resistance to Francis's reforms, of a curia, the Church's administrative body, still clinging to the old ways. The resignation, some argued, was not just about health. It was about the immense pressure Francis faced from within. Francis's papacy had been anything but ordinary. He inherited a church grappling with scandal and division. He confronted these challenges head-on, advocating for the poor and marginalized. He called for a more merciful church, a church that welcomed all. His papacy was also marked by bold gestures. He washed the feet of Muslim prisoners. He embraced children with disabilities. He challenged world leaders on climate change and economic inequality. These actions resonated far beyond the walls of the Vatican. They made him a moral force on the world stage. As the world processed the news of the resignation, attention turned to the future. Who would succeed Pope Francis? One name quickly rose to the forefront: Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle of the Philippines. Tagle, a charismatic theologian known for his humility and intellect, had become a prominent figure in the church. He served as Archbishop of Manila, tending to the spiritual needs of one of the largest Catholic populations in the world. His appointment as prefect of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, a key Vatican department, further solidified his position. The Sacred College convenes. The process of selecting a new pope is shrouded in secrecy and tradition. This ancient ritual, known as the Papal Conclave, is a time-honored tradition that has been followed for centuries. The conclave is a deeply spiritual and solemn event, where the cardinals seek divine guidance in their decision-making process. The College of Cardinals, a body of senior church officials, would gather in Rome for a papal conclave. These cardinals come from all corners of the globe, representing the universal nature of the Catholic Church. They are tasked with the immense responsibility of electing the new leader of the world's 1.2 billion Catholics. Isolated from the outside world, they would cast their votes in a centuries-old ritual. The cardinals are sequestered within the Sistine Chapel, cut off from any external influence to ensure that their decision is made with the utmost integrity and devotion. The process involves multiple rounds of voting, with each cardinal writing the name of their chosen candidate on a ballot. The world watched and waited. Speculation ran rampant. As the conclave progresses, the eyes of the world are fixed on the Vatican. Crowds gather in St. Peter's Square, eagerly awaiting the outcome. Journalists from around the globe report on every development, while people everywhere watch the news with bated breath. Would the cardinals choose a successor in the mold of Francis, a reformer who would continue his work? Pope Francis, known for his progressive views and efforts to modernize the Church, has left a significant impact. Many wonder if the next pope will follow in his footsteps, continuing the path of reform and inclusivity. Or would they opt for a more conservative path? There are also those who believe that the Church should return to more traditional values and practices. The decision of the cardinals will shape the future direction of the Catholic Church, influencing its role in the modern world. The future of the Catholic Church hung in the balance. The outcome of the conclave will have profound implications not only for the Church but for the world at large. As the cardinals deliberate, the faithful and the curious alike wait with anticipation, knowing that the decision made within the hallowed walls of the Sistine Chapel will resonate for years to come. Challenges on the horizon. The next pope would inherit a church at a crossroads. He would face numerous challenges, both internal and external. The clerical sexual abuse crisis continued to cast a long shadow. The Church remained divided on issues such as divorce, contraception, and LGBTQ+ inclusion. The rise of secularism and the decline of religious affiliation, particularly in the West, posed another significant challenge. The next pope would need to find new ways to connect with a generation increasingly distant from organized religion. A global church reacts. The news of Pope Francis's resignation and the prospect of Cardinal Tagle's leadership reverberated throughout the global Catholic community. This unexpected announcement sent shockwaves through the hearts of millions of Catholics who had grown to admire Pope Francis for his humility, progressive views, and dedication to the poor. His decision to step down was seen as a momentous event, one that would undoubtedly shape the future of the Church. Cardinal Tagle, known for his compassionate approach and deep connection with the faithful, emerged as a potential successor, bringing a sense of hope and anticipation. From the bustling streets of Manila to the quiet parishes of rural America, the faithful grappled with the implications of this historic moment. In the Philippines, where Catholicism is deeply rooted, the news was met with a mix of pride and uncertainty. Filipino Catholics gathered in churches, offering prayers for guidance and strength. Meanwhile, in rural America, parishioners discussed the potential changes that could come with new leadership, reflecting on the impact Pope Francis had on their local communities. The sense of unity and shared faith was palpable as believers from different corners of the world sought solace and understanding. Political leaders too weighed in. Some expressed admiration for Francis's legacy and hope for a continued commitment to social justice. Leaders from various countries acknowledged the Pope's efforts in addressing global issues such as climate change, poverty, and migration. They praised his ability to bridge divides and foster dialogue among different faiths and cultures. However, the transition also sparked debates about the future direction of the Church. Would the new leadership continue to champion the causes that Francis held dear, or would there be a shift in focus? These questions lingered in the minds of many. Others, more wary of the Church's stance on certain issues, adopted a more cautious tone. Critics of the Church's positions on topics such as LGBTQ+ rights, women's roles, and clerical celibacy voiced their concerns. They wondered if the new leadership would bring about the reforms they had long hoped for, or if it would maintain the status quo. Public squares and social media platforms buzzed with discussions and debates as people from all walks of life shared their perspectives and hopes for the future. The media played a crucial role in covering these diverse viewpoints, highlighting the global significance of this transition. The world held its breath, anticipating the white smoke that would signal a new era for the Catholic Church. As the conclave convened to elect the next pope, the sense of anticipation grew. Crowds gathered in St. Peter's Square, their eyes fixed on the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. The symbolism of the white smoke, indicating the election of a new pope, carried profound meaning for Catholics everywhere. It represented not just a change in leadership, but a moment of renewal and hope. The faithful prayed for a leader who would guide the Church with wisdom, compassion, and a vision for the future. Tagle's vision, a church of mercy and dialogue. Cardinal Tagle, should he be elected, brings with him a reputation for compassion and a commitment to interfaith dialogue. He embodies the spirit of the Second Vatican Council, which called for a more open and engaged church. His leadership could usher in an era of renewed emphasis on social justice, particularly in addressing poverty and inequality. His deep understanding of Asia, a continent where Christianity is growing rapidly, could also shape the Church's future direction. A new dawn. As the conclave commenced, a sense of anticipation filled the air. The world watched and prayed, hoping for a leader who would guide the Church with wisdom and compassion. The weight of history, the hopes of 1 billion souls, rested upon the shoulders of the cardinals gathered in Rome. The resignation of Pope Francis marked the end of an era, but it also signaled a new beginning, a chance for renewal, for healing, for the Church to rediscover its purpose in a rapidly changing world. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.